You know what it is. That's right. It's time to talk money with your money nerd and financial coach. Now, tighten those purse strings and open those ears. It's the Money Talk with Tiff podcast.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited because I have Jonathan Scott on the line. Now, Jonathan is here to talk to us about financial empowerment. Now, this is something that is near and dear to my heart, and so I'm sure that we'll have a wonderful conversation around it. So, Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure, Tiffany. I'm excited. You know, at the end of the day, if I can help people and have a fruitful conversation, I'm all for it.
Awesome. So let's just hop right in. So when we say financial empowerment, people are probably like, what kind of buzzword is this? So what in your definition is financial empowerment?
Yeah, so a lot of books out there and a lot of material is about financial literacy. Specifically, my book, it does have financial tools and practical solutions for a lot of different things. But the biggest thing is there's 100,000 different tools out there, right? And so empowerment is more so speaking about, the mindset having going into a financial situation, figuring out what questions you should be asking, being able to, solve different types of problems. And with the winning playbook, it makes life so much easier because it's a winning playbook, right? Yeah.
Perfect. So let's dive into that a little bit more because I heard you say asking questions that you should be asking. So if we have individuals that are listening, they're like, okay, well, what kind of questions, like, what are we talking about here? What kind of questions should they be asking either themselves or other people?
Yeah, so it's fair to say a lot of people are either, they're employees of a company or, they're an entrepreneur. One of the things that I'm pretty sure every company that has, they have some kind of career savings plan, right? 401k. One of the things that you want to be in a position to be in a driver's seat of your financial, of financial awareness of, because even me, like I didn't know a lot of things. Like a lot of people didn't know. I mean, you're dealing with a 401k, you're dealing with a mutual fund, right? What exactly is a mutual fund, right? A lot of times, not CPAs, but financial advisors, they are passively, working on your portfolio, but not active daily management of your portfolio. So, there's a lot of different things. It's like, a lot of people don't know is what's a 12B1 fee? Some people, kind of understand the 49 and a half rule, 50 and 70 and a half rule. What does that mean? What are required minimum distributions? Like all these little things, a lot of people just kind of push off, to their financial advisor and like, all right, cool, deal with it, right? But those things have different implications, down the line. And I strongly believe that if someone is in control or advisor of your financial portfolio, you should be educated on it, not just told do this, do that. Because I know for me, it's like, once I became empowered in understanding finances, I fired my financial advisor because it's one or two things. It's my financial advisor didn't know the information that I knew, or two, he didn't teach me what I needed to know, right? So it's uh for either situation, it's egregious. Like I need to be informed, and you should, at least that's my expectation, you should know more than me. You're the financial advisor. So either way, I had to let him go because that just wasn't enough. right?
So, yeah, I completely agree with that because I always tell people, even if you don't want to do something yourself, at least learn enough so that way people can't get over on you, or you might end up like in your situation, knowing a little bit more than them. And so there's no point in you spending the extra money. I know something similar happened to me in the marketing realm of things. So I had hired a marketing firm and I was like, oh, yeah, help me with this, help me with that. And then I realized I knew more than they did, or, the stuff that I was doing was getting more results. So then I'm like, okay, why am I hiring this out at this point? And then I was able to save myself some money. So I love that you said that and put that out there because, sometimes people think, oh, I have to have this thing. And you really don't. And sometimes it's just that knowledge gap and just educating yourself that makes all the difference. So, with that being said, what are some other things that people should think about? So, let's say we have someone listening and they're like, all right, I want to get my mindset right around money. What are some things that they should tap into or dive into or just think about in order to get that process started?
One of the biggest things is self-identity, understanding, how you view yourself. Like if you view yourself as a person who's bad with money, well, guess what? You're going to be bad with money, right? And so a lot of it has to do, like I said, it's just how you think about it, and it's something that's cool that I actually, I tell some stories in the book that I co-wrote with my business partner. It was something that my dad used to always say. He say, "Son, if you're in the room with four idiots, guess what? You'll be the fifth." And he said, "Son, if you're in the room with four billionaires, guess what? You'll be the fifth." And so at the end of the day, if you really think about it, is that just surrounding yourself around people that can sharpen your sword. Not to get too too biblical, but I would consider myself a spiritual person. But it states in Proverbs 27:17, which talks about iron sharpening iron. And my whole thing is that if you surround yourself around people who are sharp, who know things, who are well versed in many areas, well, guess what? That's going to rub off on you, right? But if you're in a room with a bunch of people that's talking about things that are um, minuscule and an abundance of mediocrity, guess what? That's what you're going to exude. So um, that's the biggest thing is surrounding yourself. Uh, I talk about the four E's, the letter E that is connected to a certain mindset. It's your environment, your exposure, your experience, and your expectation. Right, each one leads to that next phase. And so, just think about if you have a negative environment, you have a negative exposure, which leads to negative experience, which leads to a negative expectation of yourself, right? And so, one of the things is that despite where you are in life, today, if you have a negative situation, let's change the mindset. Let's change the environment. Which will happen, which will change your exposure, which will change your experience, which will change your expectations.
Are you a first generation investor who loves to dabble in the stock market, but you don't really have a plan? If this sounds like you, then you need to check out Ange Matthews' Invested Masterclass. If the name sounds familiar, she's been on the podcast not once, but twice. It's free and available for a limited time only. With the Happy Investor Method, Ange will teach you how to think about wealth and investing differently. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to take control of your financial future. Sign up for the free Invested Masterclass with Ange Matthews today. You can find it at www.investedmasterclass.com. Again, that's www.investedmasterclass.com. I look forward to seeing you there. Now, let's get back to the episode.
One of the things that I've learned, and I can go on a rant, not a rant, but I can go on a soapbox about this, is that you are what you eat. From a mental standpoint, if you buy into allowing the world to negatively instruct you, right, versus letting the world inform you, right, you can get thrown all different types of ways. So um, I'm just real big on you know empowering people, helping people to be the best version of themselves, right? Because that's what I'm personally on a journey is like I'm like the 3.9 version, right? My age, right? But like I know I'm gonna be better. Like I know some stuff, but I know that I don't know everything, right?
Right, right. And so I'm glad you said that with the four E's because that kind of ties into what I wanted to ask you next. I know part of your story is you were in the NFL, you were a pro football player and things like that. And so with that said, I can see how your environment could make a difference in how you interact with your money. So were you seeing other players or did you get caught up in some of that, like where they're just spending, spending, spending? Or what was your experience there?
Right. Well, not to give away all the goodies that's actually in the book, but there's something that I talked about when it came to interactions with other players who had different paychecks than I had. Let's just say that. So we do talk. I do talk about that in the book, and that's a great question. And a lot of people, the biggest takeaway from that is that not everybody has the same paycheck in the NFL, right? There can be a stark difference. We're talking one making six figures and another making eight figures. That's a big difference. And I'm talking about 100,000 versus 15 million. Big difference. Big difference. So you can't compare your paycheck to the next guy. I'll say that.
Yes, yes. And I'm glad you brought that up though, because even if you're not talking about pro football, right? Just in our day to day, just regular jobs, people are trying to keep up with people in different, we'll say tax brackets and so to speak. And so, kind of, and also I just want to mention comparison is a thief of joy, right? So if you're constantly comparing yourself to other people, then you're not happy for what you actually have. And I feel like that is important as well when it comes to dealing with your money. So I just wanted to hit on that real quick because I know that's a question that people have if they're listening. And so you got your answer, you got to get the book in order to get all the juicy tidbits. But with that being said, what are some strategies that people can start implementing? So we talked about the four E's, but let's say, for instance, they're like, you know what? The people that I surround myself with, I know they're an issue. Okay. But what do I need to do in order to make this change? Like, I have no idea where to even start.
Yeah. So the first thing is that, and the crazy thing is that, you know, the practical thing is start with yourself, right? Recognize where you are, right? And where you're trying to go, right? This is cool. I remember my personal development coach said, think of your personal journey as you're in a hotel and you're in your room. You close the door, and on the back it has the fire escape plan, right? Every plan, all state, boom, like it has a little red dot and it says you are here, right? Now, you know where you're trying to go. You're trying to get out the building in the case of an emergency, right? So in order to get out or go somewhere, you got to know where you're at. And so the first thing is you have to assess where you are, good, bad, or indifferent, and say, all right, this is where I'm at. Now, where do I want to go? Right. And those first steps, literally the first steps, is being able to identify where you are. Right. Next steps. would probably be once you kind of identify the things that you want to become or where you want to go. Manifestation, I believe, is a very extremely big thing. If you speak negativity, negative things are going to happen. You speak positivity, positive things are going to happen. It is that simple. It's not easy. Let's not get those two words mixed up. It's simple, but it's not easy, right? But what happens is as you go through that process, you become seasoned. You create, it'll work out. Those things and those desires that you have, or those commitments that you want to, those things those goals that you want to accomplish, they'll happen, right? But you have to visualize it, and you got to actually, it starts off by just saying it, right? That's the most practical. And that's why I say this is financial empowerment. Yes, we give you actual tools of talking about actual, worldly things, insurance policies, picking your, uh, picking the right team, right? How to find the right team, all those different things. Yes, we address all those things, but we make it simple, right? So that would be the practical thing that I would say. You got to start with yourself, and once you get to that part, things will flow. And I actually have a story in the book that talked about that as well. So I didn't leave anyone out.
Absolutely. And I completely agree with that. I'm a firm believer in affirmations, manifestation, things like that. And even if, like, let's say, for instance, you're on a positive note, and you think positively, even if negative stuff does happen that day, it's not as exaggerated as if you were on a negative autopilot. That's what I call it, negative or positive autopilot. So, for instance, if you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm grateful for XYZ, I'm grateful for waking up this morning, my family, my friends, my kids, whatever, and then you stub your toe, it's not going to be as bad as if you woke up like, oh, I don't feel like getting up. Why do I need to get up? I stubbed my toe. Oh, it hurts. Oh my gosh, this is a horrible day. Like, it's a stark difference between the two. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. And I'm a firm believer in that. So definitely get your mind right. And like you said, you mentioned your book, Winning Playbook. If people were interested in finding it or knowing more about you or getting to know you, how could they find you or the book?
Yeah, real easy. You can go to the website, which is yourwinningplaybook.com. And then as you click on there, it has if you want to send questions, you can do that. Or, you choose to buy the book. We have all major retailers, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, and you can order it right there off Amazon. And, we say, please leave a review, leave comments. I'm confident that it will be positively taken. But yeah, it's real simple. Yourwinningplaybook.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jonathan, for coming on the show today. And if you all did not get that link or any of that information, I will have it in the show notes. So check that out. I appreciate you coming on and dropping this knowledge for us because we all get better as we share out. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Tiffany. I appreciate it. And best of success moving forward.
Absolutely. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for listening, joining, and being a part of the Money Talk with Tiff podcast this week. You can check Tiff out every Thursday for a new Money Talk podcast. But if you just can't wait until next week, you can listen to previous podcast episodes at moneytalkwitht.com or follow Tiff on all social media platforms at Money Talk with T. Until next time, spend wise by spending less than you make. A word to the money wise is always sufficient.